The sound of his phone ringing at midnight sent ice through Marcus' veins. His boss's name flashed on the screen. Catherine Reynolds, CEO of Reynolds Publishing. His 6-year-old daughter slept peacefully in the next room, unaware that her father's carefully constructed world was about to collapse. When he answered, Catherine's voice was cold steel. "I need you at my house now." Before he could respond, she added words that made his heart stop. "I know everything, Marcus, everything." 30 minutes later, standing in Catherine's luxurious living room, Marcus watched her swirl amber liquid in a crystal glass, rain lashed against floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city lights. She turned to him, her expression unreadable in the dim light. "So it's true, you lied to me." Marcus felt the floor tilt beneath him. Which lie had she discovered? The fake resume credentials that got him the job? The fact he'd been working a side gig against company policy? Or something far more personal, something that could destroy not just his career, but the fragile life he'd built for his daughter after her mother abandoned them? 3 months earlier, Marcus had been desperate. After his wife left, taking their savings and leaving mountains of debt, he needed a job that could support Emma and her medical needs. Reynolds Publishing was hiring, but the position required qualifications he didn't have. So, he lied, added a degree he never earned, experience he never had. The gamble paid off when Catherine hired him as her executive assistant. What he hadn't expected was Catherine herself, brilliant, demanding, and unexpectedly, kind when no one was looking. The woman who terrified the entire office would sometimes ask about Emma, slip Marcus, schedule adjustments when he needed to, attend his daughter's doctor appointments, and once memorably sent a care package when Emma had pneumonia. "I didn't have a choice," Marcus said finally, his voice barely audible over the rain. "Emma needed stability, health care. After Diane left us." "I'm not talking about your resume," Catherine interrupted, surprising him. "Though we'll get to that too." Marcus froze. "Then what?" "The Henderson acquisition documents. You leaked them to Apex Media." The accusation hit like a physical blow. "What? No, I would never." "Don't insult me further," Catherine snapped. "The information could only have come from my office, from someone with access to my private files." She stepped closer. Her perfume, something expensive and subtle, filling his senses. "Someone I trusted." Marcus felt sick. "Catherine, I swear to you, only 3 people had access. Me, you, and James from legal. And James has been with the company for 20 years. Then it must have been James was in the hospital having surgery when the leak happened." Marcus' mind raced. Someone was setting him up. But who and why? The Henderson acquisition was Catherine's passion project, a small but beloved publishing house she wanted to save from corporate vultures. If Apex got their hands on the details before the deal closed, "You have 10 seconds to tell me the truth," Catherine said, her voice dangerously quiet. "Or I call security to escort you out tomorrow, and you can explain to Emma why Daddy doesn't have a job anymore." The mention of his daughter ignited something in Marcus. "That's low even for you." Catherine's eyes flashed. "What's low is betraying someone who gave you a chance. I didn't leak anything. Someone setting me up." Marcus ran his hands through his hair. "Look, I lied about my qualifications. I admit that I was desperate, but I've worked my ass off every day to deserve this job. I would never betray you." Something in his voice made Catherine pause. She studied him with those penetrating eyes that missed nothing in boardroom negotiations. Then who did? What followed was the longest night of Marcus' life. Together, they combed through server logs, email records, and security footage. As dawn broke over the city, they found their answer in the form of a sophisticated hack that had originated from Catherine's ex-husband's company. "Richard," Catherine whispered, her face pale. "He's still trying to destroy me." Marcus watched as the formidable CEO he knew crumbled slightly, showing a vulnerability he'd never seen. "He was always jealous of my success," she continued. "When I refused to sell him shares in Reynolds after our divorce, he decided to sabotage the Henderson deal." Marcus finished. "Make you look incompetent." Catherine nodded, then fixed him with a hard stare. "But you still lied about your qualifications." Marcus swallowed. "Yes." "Why should I keep you on?" "'Cause I'm damn good at my job," he said simply. Degree or not, a ghost of a smile touched her lips. "Yes, you are." The tension between them shifted, becoming something else entirely. For months they'd maintained strict, professional boundaries, despite the undeniable chemistry that occasionally crackled when they worked late. Now, with dawn painting her living room gold and the truth between them, those boundaries felt paper thin. "I should get home to Emma," Marcus said, breaking the moment. "Mrs. Patel can only stay until 7. Catherine nodded. "Of course." Then, unexpectedly, "Bring her to the company picnic next weekend. I'd like to meet this daughter you're so devoted to." The company picnic changed everything. Watching Catherine kneel in her designer jeans to help Emma build a sand castle, laughing as his daughter corrected her technique with all the seriousness of a 6-year-old architect, Marcus felt something in his chest crack open. "Your boss is pretty," Emma observed that night as he tucked her in. "Yes, she is," Marcus agreed, And she's nice, not scary like you said. Marcus winced. I never said she was scary. Emma gave him a look that was pure skepticism. You said she makes grown men cry in meetings. Well, that part is true, he admitted, making Emma giggle. What he didn't tell his daughter was how Catherine had pulled him aside as they were leaving, her fingers brushing his arm. You've done a wonderful job with her, Marcus. She's extraordinary. She's everything to me, he'd replied, simply. Catherine had held his gaze a beat too long. I see that. It's rare to find someone who puts family first that way. The weeks that followed brought a new dynamic to their working relationship. Catherine began mentoring him, teaching him the publishing business from the ground up. If you're going to be here, she'd said, you might as well learn properly. But it was more than professional development. There were coffees that lasted longer than necessary, conversations that drifted from work to personal dreams, and moments when their hands would touch over documents and linger. Then came the night of the Henderson acquisition celebration. The deal had gone through despite Richard's sabotage attempts. The entire company gathered at an upscale restaurant, but Marcus had to leave early. Emma had a fever. Catherine found him calling the babysitter in a quiet hallway. Go, she said simply. Emma needs you, but the party will continue without you. Family first, Marcus, always. The look they shared held volumes of unspoken feeling. Before he could overthink it, Marcus leaned forward and kissed her, a brief electric moment that ended too soon. I shouldn't have done that, he whispered, pulling back. Catherine's eyes were wide. No, you shouldn't have. Then softer. Least not here. 3 days later, Catherine called him into her office. I've been thinking about your situation, she said, formally. Your qualifications. Marcus' heart sank. After everything, was she firing him now? I've enrolled you in night classes at City College, she continued, sliding a folder across her desk. Business administration with a focus on publishing. The company will cover tuition. Marcus stared at her. Why would you do this? Because you have potential and because I believe in second chances. Her professional mask slipped slightly, and because Emma deserves a father who can provide for her without compromising his integrity. That night, after putting Emma to bed, Marcus sat on his small balcony looking at the enrollment papers. His phone buzzed with a text from Catherine. Dinner tomorrow. My place. Bring Emma. If it wasn't just a dinner invitation, it was an acknowledgement that whatever was happening between them would include his daughter. That Catherine understood they were a package deal. For the first time since Diane left, Marcus felt hope, not just for survival, but for happiness. The dinner was a revelation. Emma, normally shy around new adults, bloomed in Catherine's presence. They made homemade pizza together. Catherine showing Emma how to toss dough in the air, a skill Marcus had no idea his boss possessed. Where did you learn to do that? He asked, watching flour dust Catherine's normally immaculate appearance. A shadow crossed her face. I worked at a pizzeria through college. My parents cut me off when I refused to study law. She smiled at Emma. Sometimes the hardest paths lead to the best places. Later, after Emma had fallen asleep on Catherine's plush couch, Marcus helped her clear the dishes. You never mentioned your parents before, he said carefully. Catherine's hands stilled in the soapy water. We don't speak. They wanted a daughter who would join the family firm, marry the right kind of man, have the right kind of life. She glanced toward Emma's sleeping form. I wanted to build something of my own. Reynolds Publishing, Marcus said. Yes, started with one author I believed in when no one else would take a chance on her work. Pride colored her voice. Now we're one of the top independent publishers in the country, and your parents still waiting for me to fail. Her smile was brittle. 20 years and counting. Marcus reached for her hand, still wet with dishwater. Their loss. Catherine's eyes met his, vulnerability and strength mingling in their depths. Yes, she said softly. I'm beginning to see that more clearly now. The following weeks brought a new rhythm to their lives. Marcus juggled work, night classes, and single fatherhood while Catherine fought to stabilize the company after Richard's attempted sabotage. They stole moments together, working dinners that turned personal after Emma went to bed, weekend outings to museums and parks, quiet conversations over late night drinks in Catherine's kitchen. But the outside world inevitably intruded. Whispers began at the office when Marcus was promoted to junior editor, a position he was now qualified for with his growing education and natural talent, but which some attributed to his increasingly obvious personal relationship with the CEO. They're calling me your boy toy, Marcus told Catherine one night, his tone light but his eyes serious. Catherine set down her wine glass with a sharp click. Let them talk. Your work speaks for itself, does it? Or am I just getting opportunities because of this? He gestured between them. Do you think so little of me? Catherine's voice was quiet but edged with hurt that I would compromise my company, my life's work, for a fling. The word fling hung between them, exposing the uncertainty they'd both been avoiding. What exactly were they to each other? Before Marcus could respond, his phone rang. Mrs. Padel panicked. Emma had fallen from her bike and needed stitches. The conversation was shelved as they rushed to the emergency room. Sitting in the sterile waiting area, Marcus watched Catherine pace, more agitated than he'd ever seen her. "She'll be fine," he assured her, though his own heart was racing. Catherine stopped pacing. "I know. She broke off, looking lost in a way that the formidable CEO never did. "When my assistant called to say you'd rushed out, all I could think was that I needed to be here with both of you." The simple admission cracked something open between them. When the doctor finally allowed them in to see Emma, Catherine held the little girl's hand as tightly as Marcus did, both of them making silly jokes to distract her from the pain. Later, as Emma slept in her hospital bed, Catherine whispered, "This isn't a fling for me, Marcus. I don't know what it is yet, but it's not that." He squeezed her hand. "I know, for me either." The real test came 3 months later when Diane suddenly reappeared. Marcus' ex-wife, sleek and sophisticated after her time away, claimed she wanted to reconnect with Emma. Her timing was suspicious, just as Marcus' life was stabilizing, just as his relationship with Catherine was deepening. "She abandoned us," Marcus raged to Catherine after Emma was in bed. "Left us with nothing but debt and heartbreak, and now she waltzes back expecting to play mommy." Catherine watched him pace her living room. "What does Emma want?" The question stopped him cold. "I don't know. I haven't told her yet." "You have to," Catherine said gently. "She deserves to know her mother wants to see her. And if Diane hurts her again, if she disappears once more," Catherine crossed to him, taking his face in her hands, "then we'll be here to catch her together." Though he wasn't lost on Marcus, nor was the fact that Catherine, who had every reason to feel threatened by Diane's return, was putting Emma's needs first. The meeting was arranged at a neutral location, a park where Emma could play if things became too intense. Marcus watched his daughter approach her mother cautiously. Diane's perfect makeup, unable to hide her nervousness. Catherine had offered to stay away, but Marcus had insisted she come. "You're part of our lives now," he'd said simply. Standing slightly apart, giving the fractured family space, Catherine was nonetheless a steady presence. When Emma ran to her after 20 awkward minutes with Diane burying her face in Catherine's legs, Marcus saw his ex-wife's expression shift from confusion to understanding. Later, after Diane had left with promises to call soon, promises Marcus wasn't sure she'd keep, Emma asked the question he'd been dreading. "Is Mommy coming home?" Marcus knelt to her level. "No, sweetheart. Mommy has her own home now. But she wants to see you sometimes if you'd like that." Emma considered this with a solemn thoughtfulness that always made her seem older than 6. "Can Catherine still be my friend even if Mommy comes to visit?" Catherine, who had been giving them space, looked up sharply. "Of course," Marcus said. "Catherine will always be part of our lives." Emma nodded, satisfied. "Good, because I think she loves us and we love her too." Out of the mouths of babes. Marcus met Catherine's eyes over Emma's head, saw the emotion there that mirrored his own. 6 months later, Marcus stood in Catherine's kitchen, helping Emma with homework while Catherine prepared dinner. The domesticity of it still surprised him sometimes, how naturally they'd formed this unconventional family. He was still her employee, still learning the business through night classes, but here in her home they were equals. "Daddy," Emma said suddenly, "are we going to live here someday?" The question hung in the air. Marcus glanced at Catherine, who had gone very still by the stove. Before he could formulate an answer, Catherine turned. "Would you like that, Emma?" Emma nodded solemnly. "You have better bookshelves, and Daddy smiles more here." Catherine's eyes met Marcus over Emma's head. "I smile more when you're both here too." Later, after Emma had fallen asleep in the guest room that had gradually accumulated her toys and books, Catherine and Marcus stood on her balcony overlooking the city. "She asked a big question today," Catherine said quietly. Marcus nodded. "She did. And what's your answer?" Marcus turned to face her. "I think you know I'm all in. Have been since that night you called me here accusing me of corporate espionage." Catherine laughed softly. "Not my finest moment. I don't know. It led to this." He gestured between them. Us, she repeated, testing the word. "The single dad and his boss sounds like a bad romance novel." "Or a good one," Marcus countered, pulling her close. "Depends who's writing it." Their story continued to unfold in unexpected ways. Richard made one final attempt to undermine Catherine, this time targeting Marcus. Anonymous emails were sent to the board suggesting Marcus had slept his way into his position, complete with doctored photos and fabricated evidence. The board called an emergency meeting. Catherine, ice cold and formidable, laid out the facts of Richard's vendetta, but it was Marcus who delivered the final blow. "I came to Reynolds Publishing with a lie on my resume," he admitted to the stunned board members. "I didn't have the degree I claimed. What I did have was determination, talent, and a desperate need to provide for my daughter." He looked each board member in the eye. "Since then, I've earned my qualifications legitimately. My work has brought in 3 best-selling authors, and yes, I fell in love with Catherine Reynolds not because she's my boss but because she's the most extraordinary person I've ever met. The boardroom fell silent. Then the oldest member, a woman who had been with the company since its founding, spoke up. I've watched Catherine build this company from nothing. I've seen her weather storms that would have sunk lesser leaders, and I've never seen her as happy as she's been these past months. She fixed Richard's representative with a steely gaze. Your client's vendetta ends today. The board stands with Catherine and her decisions, both professional and personal. The victory was sweet, but it came with a price. That night, as they celebrated with champagne after Emma was asleep, Catherine broached the subject they'd been avoiding. You can't keep working directly under me, she said softly. Not if we're going to build a life together. Marcus nodded. He'd known this was coming. I've been thinking about that. Henderson Publishing is now a subsidiary of Reynolds. They need an acquisitions editor. Catherine's eyes widened. You'd leave the main office. I'd take a position where there's no conflict of interest, he corrected. Where my success or failure would be based entirely on my own merit. Catherine studied him, pride mingling with something deeper in her expression. You've come a long way from the desperate man who faked a resume. I had good motivation, Marcus replied, thinking of Emma, thinking of Catherine. The transition wasn't seamless. Marcus' new position at Henderson meant longer hours as he proved himself. Emma struggled with the changes in their routine, especially when they moved into Catherine's home. Diane drifted in and out of their lives, sometimes keeping her promises to Emma, sometimes disappearing for months. But through it all, they built something real. A family formed not from obligation but choice. Catherine became not just Emma's stepmother, but her champion. Attending every school play and doctor's appointment, Marcus earned his degree and eventually became Henderson Publishing's youngest ever editorial director, his natural talent for spotting promising manuscripts flourishing under Catherine's distant but supportive mentorship. The wedding was small, just Emma as flower girl, a few close friends, and to everyone's surprise, Catherine's parents. They came stiffly formally, but when Catherine's father saw how Marcus looked at his daughter with pride and love rather than calculation, something in the old man softened. You built something remarkable, he told Catherine at the reception. Not just the company, this family. Catherine, radiant in a simple ivory dress, squeezed Marcus's hand. We built it together. Emma, now 8 and wise beyond her years, had the last word that night as Marcus tucked her into bed in their new home. Remember when Catherine called you at midnight and you were super scared? She asked sleepily. Marcus smiled, remembering that rainy night that had changed everything. I do. I'm glad she found out you lied, Emma mumbled, drifting towards sleep. Otherwise, we wouldn't be a family. Marcus kissed her forehead, thinking of the long winding path that had led them here. From desperation to deception to truth and finally to love. Sometimes, he told his daughter, the hardest moments lead us exactly where we need to be. And on quiet nights, when Emma was asleep and the world slowed down, Catherine and Marcus would remind each other of that rainy midnight when everything changed, when a lie uncovered led not to an ending, but a beginning, when 2 broken people found in each other not just passion or companionship, but the courage to build something lasting from the ruins of what came before. Their story wasn't perfect. It was messy and complicated and real, but it was theirs. A testament to second chances, to the families we choose, and to the truth that sometimes sets us free. If you found yourself moved by Marcus and Catherine's journey from mistrust to love, hit that like button and subscribe to see more stories that explore the complicated, beautiful ways we find each other. I'd love to know which country you're watching from. Drop it in the comments below.